Hi guys, so I finished these.
There exists in Minecraft's code a secret rabbit variant. And no, not the killer rabbit you get with this command, but actually something more sentimental. By naming a rabbit toast with a name tag, it'll change into this texture. And what's sweet about that is that this is actually a tribute to a player who lost a pet rabbit with the same name. Mojang, clearly touched by the story, took the moniker and immortalized it for us all to see in game. So, if you're looking to honor the poor thing's legacy, throw down that name tag and keep the memory alive. In the texture update of 1.14, Minecraft got a bunch of changes to its look. And while that was an impressive undertaking, when you're changing around that many textures, some are bound to be overlooked. And this is just that. As you'll notice, if you check your inventory while you're in spectator mode, you'll recognize that the barrier texture used is that of the old one. And while it's definitely not game-breaking, it is a fun thing to notice. Thinking of the right name for a pet can be tough, so if you're really strapped for options, this might be a good fallback. All we need is a bit of ingenuity and a complete lack of remorse. See, if we were to take one of the name tags that we got from exploring and put it into an anvil, then all we gotta do is go into our settings, change our native language, and then rewrite the name of the name tag as, well, name tag. And then once we change our language back, you notice that we're finally able to name a name tag, and use it as a name tag for our new animal. So if you want to circumvent this one Mojang rule, I guess it's the way to do it. Though I might add, your pet might hate you for it. Have you ever tried sprinting backwards? Well, it sounds crazy, but with a glitch, it's possible. See, the community's found a way that if you sprint and then immediately jump in the opposite direction, you can actually sprint backwards on bedrock, which can come in handy when you need to escape from a prime creeper explosion. Just be sure to be careful not to run into any unwanted chasms. So how to make this waterfall in vanilla Minecraft? Well, apparently if you have several llamas that attack your dog at the base of the waterfall, any projectiles will rise up to the top, giving us the mist effect that we're looking for. And since the spit rises up, there's no risk for the dog to take any kind of damage. Bridges are a staple of Minecraft building, but while we usually build out of blocks or maybe campfires, I doubt arrows are your first pick. Though as this user shows off, that might be our mistake. Sure enough, in certain versions, it's possible to hit yourself with a punch 2 arrow as it's falling to score some extra knockback. And while we'll lose some height in the process, this does work well enough to cross a gap that's dozens of blocks wide. And if you're ever being chased by someone in a manhunt, that might be all the space you need. With the new mangrove trapdoor, we can create this all-seeing eye illusion. By placing a trapdoor in front of a dropper, we get this creepy black pupil that follows you around. And if you want different colors, then place a fence behind it, some new eye colors as well. Just make sure
Toasted. We need to incorporate some kind of fire hazard into our builds. And that's not ideal, to say the least. But go figure, moss carpet is the proper solution. Stop it, smart fall. Stop it! And the striders will be happy and warm just the same. Which also makes it don't be dicey, yes? Town. It's gone to town, it's gone to town, the skeleton has gone to town. Move that explosive in some way. And hey, since we can also light the bobber on fire with lava, we could use it to ignite it in the same go. Which is cool, but any application for this seems highly situational. In 1.19, Mojang... You can also do this. Believe me, the block is coded to spread whenever a mob dies nearby. But there's not really a limit to that. Oh, cheeky skeleton. Cheeky skeleton. Let the skull spread into its very own bio, which is equal parts beautiful and concerning. Get away. Minecraft famously has its share of visual quirks, and while we've talked at length about those in the past, this one just cracks me up. See, if we were to hold a ladder as an item in our hands... Sorry, that doesn't work. When you place that same ladder on the side of a block, it turns paper thin. I mean, this ladder has less depth than a ladder item dropped on the floor. And unless we get something like default 3D in the base game, I guess it'll be a fun thing to notice going forward. If you want to play Minecraft survival without the added challenge of, well, surviving, then peaceful mode is an obvious choice. Or, so you thought. You see, even though this mode claims to remove all dangerous mobs, one spy seems to have slipped through the cracks. While playing on peaceful mode, the llama is the only mob capable of harming the player. I mean, I know spit is gross, but is it really that bad to be the only damaging thing in the mode? Well, luckily, these animals only attack when they're provoked. So in the meantime, maybe just stick to the truly passive cows for your leather, alright? To put it lightly, beds in the nether do not get along. Although, I don't think the villagers got that memo. You see, even though beds are the equivalent of charged creepers to us, for these guys, they can sleep in them just fine. Honestly, I'm a little jealous. I mean, I would much rather just craft a bed instead of having to fuel up a respawn anchor in the nether. In fairness, they're not able to respawn, so why not let them catch some sleep in the nether anyway? It's not going to mess with balancing. But my bigger question is, how are they able to sleep with all of that light and lava going around next to them? That I've got no clue. After playing hours of Minecraft, it's easy to lose track of the different sound effects that they blend into the background, which is why you might not have recognized this. But as it is, if you break a tripwire, it actually plays the same sound effect you'll hear from the bow. As a comparison, here's the tripwire hook, and here's the bow. Which is interesting, but I also can't blame you if you never noticed it. Because really, unless you're raiding Jungle Temple, how often does this come up anyway? But props to Mojang, they reused the sound effect, and I was none the wiser. Minecraft's world border is an odd piece of code, and when you fly out 30 million blocks to visit, you'll see as much. While there's been plenty of attention given to these glitches, I think this is equally strange. See, if you get a spider next to the border wall, then the mobs will start climbing it as they would any other, which I guess makes some sense, but I figure that since we can't place any of our blocks on it, they'd have nothing to grab onto, and it's maybe the only chance they'll ever have it climbing up to build height. Here's how to turn your boat into a turret, because you'll soon notice Guardians can still shoot lasers out of the backseat.
That was strange.
One of these shotgun in your vehicle,
I think my head.
shotgun that you can point towards
But my head's not big.
the best part, it'll only target the other players who aren't in the boat. It'll completely
Same as everybody's head.
which is a blessing,
Supposed to
but
be the
make sure to
same.
drink an invisibility potion so that it doesn't attack you
Yeah.
when you dismount the
Stop
boat.
it.
The Lily of the Valley has the exact same texture no matter which angle you view it from, which makes for a really
yeah,
weird
Mario
optical
may
illusion when you start
say,
to walk around the Lily. And as this video points out, it even still works like that
the
if you
way
stand
it
at the end and
goes,
move
but
around in a
further.
circle, which is more than a little
Yeah, there we
weird,
go.
honestly, it starts to hurt my head. I'm gonna come out and say it, I don't like baby piglets.
Here we
It might
go.
sound harsh, but honestly, these things are good for nothing except stealing my gold. But unfortunately for us, that situation since, as coded, baby piglins will never become adults. I mean, we're stuck with a couple of bratty kids running around and ruining our commerce. And honestly, if I wasn't trying to stay on the parents' good side, I'd take after Anakin and get rid of the younglings. If you crouch while on slime blocks while wearing Swift Sneak 3 boots, you'll be able to move faster on it than regular walking. No joke, this lets us go to a speed of 2.3 blocks per second instead of the regular 1.3 that we get from standard walking. I mean, it's still not fast, but it's a lot better than what we had before. Apparently, it's possible to stack enchanted books, which is a weird sight, but let's explain. By putting 2 books enchanted with a curse in the grindstone, it allows you to stack them instead. And this is because you can't remove curses with a grindstone, so it just glitches out the output. And then you can shift-click out the end result, and it'll put them all back in your inventory. Since the 1.16 update, the Nether has been a lot more dangerous to traverse. But while we do have new hostile mobs in the way of piglins and hoglins, there is a glitch that might help ease the pain. Now, to pull this off, hold up your shield the second that you go through a portal. Then, after the dimension loads in, you'll find yourself on the other side, virtually unchanged. However, the game keeps your shield held up even while you're attacking or sprinting, meaning you can fight mobs as usual while still blocking their attacks. Now, the glitch doesn't allow you to eat or place blocks while you're doing this, but the other payoff is pretty worthwhile. Minecraft has a surprising amount of flying mobs, but while we're all familiar with blazes, phantoms, and bats on that list, there are 2 unlikely candidates that also fit. Even though Strider doesn't see much variation by itself, these things can actually be persuaded to the skies. Through the help of a fishing rod and a scroll wheel, all it takes to do this glitch is switching on and off of the item rapidly in your hotbar. And bam, just like that, you can fly, or at the very least fall with style on the back of your Strider. And hey, the same even goes for pigs and carrots in the overworld, though they'll have a rougher landing than the Strider does. The textures in the game are fairly simplistic, to say the least, which sometimes means it's hard to make out what's what, like the hearts you see while riding a horse. For the longest time, I never understood the texture, but thanks to user Little Dominator 64 on Reddit, a closer look actually shows their saddles, which I'll admit zoomed out is still pretty hard to see. But once you put them side by side, the picture clears up, especially if you recognize the pixels of the metal bit of the spur. Now, I won't claim it's a great texture, but hey, now I know what it's supposed to be, and maybe you do too. The first ever mob vote for Minecraft wasn't between any of these mobs, but rather it was between the llama and the alpaca. Back in 2016, Jeb posted this unofficial Twitter poll to help fans decide whether or not it should be llamas or alpacas. And as we know, llamas won in a landslide, and I'm afraid whoever wanted alpacas got a real spit in the face when they were added in. Ice boats are great, but they don't handle corners too well, especially when you're traveling at high speeds. But luckily, that's where this user's water design starts to help you out. And with this, we'll be able to travel diagonal distances without being perfectly aligned down the center, which is a huge help when you're traveling in the overworld so that you don't fall off course. So while another design might be technically faster, this one feels a lot more user-friendly. Unicorns don't exist in Minecraft, and call me crazy, but I don't think we'll get them anytime soon. But you know what's the next best thing? Getting to be a unicorn in Minecraft. Kind of. You see, by using the replace item command, it's entirely possible to put an end rod on the player's head and then become your own kind of narwhal.
Is it practical? Of course not, but it definitely looks ridiculous. And honestly, the replace item command is just full of so many silly quirks anyway that if you have an afternoon, you might want to get familiar with it. Just mess around and see what you can find. It's well worth a shot. I don't think I'm breaking any new ground by calling axolotls adorable, because just look at them. But with all that cuteness, they're not very fast. Though, that can all change with the help of a lead. Strangely enough, if you tie up an axolotl like so, it'll start to move around at some breakneck speeds. And this works both on land or in the ocean domain. So if you're looking to get your pet some exercise outside of the bucket, it seems like a decent workout. Though just keep in mind, it's tough to take it off the leash once it's on. Now, the laws of gravity don't exactly apply in Minecraft. I mean, clearly. But what's stranger than that is what Minecraft isn't even consistent on its own terms. For instance, gravel falls when there's nothing beneath it. And similarly, a lantern can only be placed with something solid above or below it. So, then why does this work? Sure, the gravel is supported by the lantern, but the lantern is supported by the gravel just the same. And if you break either one, the whole thing falls apart, giving us all perhaps the most literal definition of a symbiotic relationship. You see, in Java, we see a gold nugget as just that. Something that you can use to craft a gold ingot, but that's about it. But in Bedrock, it's fuel, for some reason. When I first heard of this, I thought, there's just no way. But yeah, if you try it, it does in fact burn. But it's not even a good fuel source. You need about 12 of them just to smelt up one item. But if you're looking to burn some cash, I guess this does the trick. Say you're trying to light up around your base, you want something more than just a couple of torches. So, to solve that, you crafted a whole bunch of redstone lamps. But now your problem is, how do you power them? Sure, you can use a lever, but that's awkward anywhere you put it. And daylight sensors are only going to be on for part of the time. So, what do? Well, apparently, by putting an item frame on a wooden pressure plate, that gives off enough weight to actually power on the thing. And now you got a constant redstone signal, giving you a sleek and stylish way to keep your lights on. And thankfully, without all the bulky redstone. With the way that mobs spawn, certain creatures aren't going to mix much in your world, which is fine, but it seems that some of these coded interactions just go unseen by the public. And this is no different. See, I wouldn't blame you if you've never noticed that polar bears can attack foxes, because you're probably not bringing many foxes over there anyway. But sure enough, add one to the vicinity, and the polar bear will start to attack. And speaking of someone who's lost mobs to foxes in the past, I'm completely on board with that. If you've watched any TV show or movie with a police scene, you're probably familiar with the idea of one-way glass. And to my surprise, we can make that in Minecraft as well. If we were to make a room of glass, then fill every single wall with invisible item frames and map art, then any perpetrator standing inside can only see the map art. However, when we stand outside, we can see him just fine. And let me reiterate, this has to be done with invisible item frames. Otherwise, we just see that leather texture out the back. Since Minecraft has so many items, you can see a texture 100 times without taking the time to study the details. And I think the iron door fits that category. Now, from this zoomed out view, it looks the same as any door that we put in our hotbar. But take a closer look at the item itself, and you'll notice that the door doesn't have a handle in its sprite, which honestly seems like a clever detail. After all, we can't open the door without a redstone signal, so it makes sense there's no player accessible handle on the thing. And it's amazing to me how just 2 little extra pixels can really show how much care went into the design. If we place a set of white glazed terracotta like so, the patterns merge to create something of a penguin head along the bottom. And whether you think this looks more like Club Penguin or Tux from Linux, I think it's a funny detail nonetheless. But it'll definitely be hard to unsee, so might as well add some half slabs and make it a penguin peekaboo in your next build. If you drop the warden from build height to bedrock, it would still live. But if you have a 319 block drop of breaks, then that's enough to kill the warden in a single drop. So clearly the warden is a tough mob to kill, but just how tough is it? Well, looking at a comparison like this, you can clearly see that the warden's health is substantially larger than just about any other mob in the game. It's more than the Ender Dragon. So if the warden's supposed to be this new unkillable mob, then why does the Wither in Bedrock Edition still have more health? Up to 50 hearts more in hard mode. Brutal. Though, as difficult as that sounds, there is an easy way to kill the warden without using any armor or enchantments. With just a strength 2 potion, you can get rid of the warden before it even finishes its Sonic Boom cycle. Just build up 3 blocks tall, land some critical hits, and make sure you have enough hunger filled up to regen. Because in just one hit, a warden can deal 45 damage, which, to put that into perspective, would mean that it wipes out more than double your life bar in a single blow. And to even withstand one hit from this thing, you need full Protection 2 diamond armor. And even then, that'll still only let you slowly attack as fierce. Its Sonic Boom attack is severely underpowered. Now, it used to deal 15 hearts of damage, but now it only does 5, which still sounds like a lot until you notice that a witch can survive getting attacked by 2 wardens without even breaking a sweat. No joke, with how the witch regens with their healing potions, you will never tie to either of these wardens. Though there is still one way the sonic boom can deal some serious damage, and we'll see that later in the video. In a lot of ways, single player can be a much riskier operation than a server. At the very least, you've got no one else to blame if something goes wrong. So, say you're playing by yourself late one night and happen to stumble into a nether river. Now, the situation does look pretty dire, but not unsalvageable. You see, one major exploit in the single player system is the ability to pause whenever you like. And that's where the saving grace comes in. By quitting and rejoining constantly, you can use the brief seconds of spawn protection each time to maneuver yourself out of the situation.